All right, I'm here with what I find to be an exciting new video. Evonik, the battery producer, actually reached out to me and asked if I'd make a video on one of their batteries, and for making the video, they would reimburse me the costs. So I was excited to do that. I already had two Evonik 3S batteries that have worked really well for me. Evonik batteries, in my experience, have always met their claimed capacity, and I didn't have a 2S Shorty, which is what I run in my Raider, Big Brute, and Ultima. And it sounded like win-win because I find making a video like this fun. So I did a lot of testing on the batteries, and I'm putting that all together here for this video. But I assure you that this video is as accurate as I could make it, as fair and honest as I could. And so let me go ahead and get started. I'm mainly going to focus on the three batteries on the right, which is a Awanfi 4600 milliamp hour, the Evonik 4600 milliamp hour, and the Turnigy 4200 milliamp hour batteries, all of which are 2S. But I also have a 5200 milliamp hour Evonik 3S and a Evonik 2200 milliamp hour 3S battery. Now I went ahead and put together stats on all the different batteries, but before I get into that, let me just show you some of the differences on the batteries. They're very similar. Really the only thing that's worth mentioning is that on the Shorty batteries, you can pull the connectors out and swap them from one battery to another, or if you had different connectors for different cars, you could change them, so that comes in handy. And the Turnigy has these low-rise connectors, which I like in my Raider, the way the body fits, whereas the others, you have to kind of push the leads down in order to make them fit in my car, and that may be an issue in some other cars as well. But otherwise, they're all very similar. The Turnigy is slightly shorter in height, but they all fit in my cars with a little modification. So I'm going to go ahead and dive right into it. But what I did is I tested the batteries for different parameters, and I also did a speed run in my Raider. The Raider here was the workhorse of this video, and I was able to get speeds for all these batteries except the large 3S because it just simply will not fit in my Raider. Let's see here. Let me zoom in a little bit. Hopefully this is a good angle that's easy for everyone to see. All right. So a Waffy battery, it's rated at 4600 milliamp hours, 100C battery. I've had this battery only for about 11 months, so less than a year, and from day one, it's underperformed. So you can see by the stats here on the screen, and I'll put a link to these so you can look at them after the fact if you find them helpful. But it only holds a little less than 3000 milliamp hours, so well under its claim 4600. And I've only used the battery probably about 20 times. And on top of the low capacity issues, it has really bad voltage sag. So especially in my Ultima Pro and my son's Bandit, when it gets down to like say a third or so of its capacity, it'll start triggering the low voltage shutoff. And it's really annoying. It just, when you hammer it, the voltage sags, the voltage drops, and you lose even more of its already low capacity because of that. My particular Waffy battery is nowhere near 100C. I reached out to the company on 3 occasions, once several months ago and 2 times in the past week or 2 here. Told them I was going to do this YouTube video, could not get a response. I will say they have some good reviews on Amazon, but my experience with this battery is it's poor. It's I just use it in my Big Brute now. It's a brushed vehicle, and the reason I use it in there is because it's a low draw. Now the only positive thing I really have to say about this battery is that most of its capacity is above storage voltage. So I'll get into that more in some of these other batteries. The internal resistance was high, about 25 milliohms per cell, and the weight of all 3 of the Shorty Lipos, the Lipos were, the differences were negligible. Now in the Raider, it was the slowest of the 3 batteries I tested. It didn't quite hit 40. All of them were, relatively close, and the 2.5, 3 miles an hour difference between the different batteries is not a deal breaker for bashing, but the capacity is. So I just don't recommend this battery at all. Again, based on my experiences. I'd love to try another one, and if the company sent me one, I would do a review on it, but I'm absolutely not spending more money on an Awanfi battery, because for the same price I could get an Evonik, which has been very good. Now the Trinity battery, this one I really like. I've had it for 7 years, and at one time it did hold its full 4,200 milliamp hours. Actually a little more than that. Now it doesn't. Now, one positive thing about this battery is that most of its capacity is above storage voltage. So to me, that would mean that, you're going to get, if you're racing or doing something where maximum speed is critical, most of that capacity is up in that range when the car is going to be at its fastest. Now, for bashing stuff, that's not as critical, but this battery was the fastest in the Raider. It was 2 miles an hour faster than the Ovonic battery, and about 3 miles an hour faster than the Waffy. Currently, its capacity is only about 3940. Granted, all these batteries, I didn't bring them all the way down to like 3 volts per cell. I don't like to abuse the batteries. I actually brought them down lower than I like to, at 6.8 volts, or as close as I could get to that. And then I would charge them up to full. And I have time-lapse videos on all 3 batteries being charged, so you can see there was no shenanigans in these numbers. They're as close as I could get. So it still provides good capacity. Again, it was a 4,200, not 4,600 milliamp hour battery when it was new. So it still provides, realistically, if I had gone all the way down to, 6 volts, it might still have 4,200 or close to it. The internal resistance was the lowest of all the batteries I tested. Again, this is a 7-year-old battery. It's excellent. And I've probably used it about 40 times. It sat in storage for about 5 years, and then I started using it again in the past year or so. Maybe it even sat for 6 years. But the only negative to it is the price. And not that it's anything crazy. Shorty batteries tend to be more expensive than other styles. For whatever reason anyway. But at the time I spent $40, it's still $40. The only negative is through Hobbywing, you have to spend a lot of money to get free shipping. And these other batteries you can all get on Amazon. So, you add in the shipping, it makes the price difference even more significant. But yeah, this battery ripped in my Raider, 42.5 miles an hour in 2S. And can't say enough good things about this battery. Now, the Evonik 2S Shorty, it's rated at 50C. Oh, let me back up. The Turnigy's rated at 65 continuous, and I think it's 125 or 130 burst. I don't know what these other figures are from the other manufacturers. I'm assuming burst, but who knows. So, Evonik 2S 4600 milliamp hour battery, rated at 50C. I found it to be a very good battery. It had its claimed capacity, which in my experience all Evonik batteries do. Now, I got 4,460 milliamp hours out of it. So if I had drained it all the way down to 6 volts or 6.2 volts even, I don't think I'd have any problem getting a full 4,600. And regardless, it was easily the highest capacity of 3 batteries I had. Perfect for bashing, perfect for having fun. The internal resistance was about 9 to 11 milliohms per cell. So I don't think that's terrible. It's pretty good. The battery performs well. I've only used it twice, but there's no voltage sag issues. The car was quick. It hit 40.5 miles an hour. And the price, again, Shorties tend to be more expensive, but it was $29. And, on sale you might even get a little cheaper. So strong value. I think that's all I have to say on that one. All right, now let's move on to the 3S batteries. So I wasn't really planning on highlighting them, but I figured why not since I'm making this video. The Evonik, this little one here, is 3S 2200 milliamp hour 50C. And as you can see, the size difference, it's pretty significant. but I was able to fit it in my Raider. I just put some foam in there, and I was trying to break 60 miles an hour and didn't quite get there, but it still ripped. 56 miles an hour, no voltage sag. The thing was just a beast in the car, and it's really light. It's only 173 grams. Most of the 2S batteries are right around, I think it was 210, 220 grams. So it's, you know, significantly lighter, which is expected. Now the capacity, it's rated at 2200, so pretty small, but it was, you know, good for what I was trying to do, just some speed runs. And the thing with the 3S batteries, even when it's all the way down at the low end, the thing's still gonna fly compared to a 2S. Now, what I found with all my Ovonic batteries, only about a third of the total capacity was above the storage voltage. Now, it's not a big negative, except a battery like the Trinity is gonna outperform it, you know, for most of the capacity range, because it's gonna have a higher voltage for a longer period of time. But again, for just having fun and bashing, it doesn't really matter. There's extra 2 miles an hour that I got with my Turnigy. Maybe it was 3 even when it was new. You're really not gonna notice it. So you gotta kind of weigh, you know, what you're gonna do with the battery. But all 3 of them, for whatever reason, had most of their capacity below the storage voltage, about 2/3 below and 1/3 above. This battery, like all the Ovonics, it you know, exceeded its claim, or at least met its claimed capacity. I got 2300 milliamp hours out of this one from 6.8 to 8.4 volts. The internal resistance is a little higher, but my understanding is that is to be expected with a lower capacity battery. I've only used it twice. I only paid $13 for it, so this thing, you know, it's a steal. I did put my own XT60 connector, although it is sold with XT60. At the time, it was just more expensive. And currently, it's only $18. This thing, again, went 56 miles an hour in my Raider. Moving on to the 3S battery, that's 5200 milliamp hours is this last Evonik battery that I have. This I actually bought for a remote control airplane, and I crashed it only after maybe 20 seconds or so of flight time. You can see there's still some dirt jammed in there. But at any rate, I figured I could use it my son's Traxxas Bandit. With a few modifications, I was able to fit it in there. I mean, this thing's pretty beefy. You compare it to the 2S, and you know, there's a pretty sizable difference there. At any rate, the thing just absolutely rips in my son's Bandit. It's too big to fit in my Raider, so I couldn't do a speed run on it. But later on, I am going to compare the 2200 milliamp hour to the 5200 milliamp hour and see if there's a speed difference in the Bandit. I imagine there might be a slight one, but it should be very slight just because the voltage should be very similar. It just will, the smaller one, of course, will lose voltage more quickly. The percent capacity, again, about a third was above storage voltage, about 2/3 were below. Internal resistance was good at 9 milliohms per cell. I've only used the battery 5 times in a car. I forgot about adding the number of times in an airplane, but less than 10 times I think is a fair assessment. The battery is a year old. All my Evonik batteries are pretty new, but with the Waffy battery, backing up to that one, again, it's less than a year old, so it shouldn't be performing like it is. Whereas my Turnigy's, you know, close to 7 years old and still performs very well. I paid $22 for it. It's currently $29, so again, a strong value. This thing is beefy though, at 371 grams, so it weighs you know, nearly twice as much as my Shorties, and you're only getting 1,000 or so more milliamp hours, and it's much heavier than the small 3S battery. So, you know, depending on the car, that could be a factor. Now, I don't think it's out of line with other batteries in that class necessarily, but for my uses, you know, it's kind of heavy. But the the Bandit just shrugs it off. That thing just rips no matter what, and I notice no difference with the different batteries that are in there. So, yeah, that's all I really had for this video. I hope to do some more videos with Evonik in the future. Again, I'm trying to be as fair and honest as possible. So, you know, out of these batteries, their battery was not the strongest performer, but it was the best value. And again, that's been my take on all three batteries I have from them. They provide a strong value. But I have a few ideas for future videos, so we'll see. But thanks everybody for listening in. And don't forget, I have the videos for the time-lapse charging. I have 3 speedrun videos if that interests you. And you know, if you like this material, let me know, and I hope to do more of it in the future. And consider subscribing to the channel. And I love talking to people, so give me a comment if you want.